Stop telling yourself that you don't have time, because every time that you say you don't have time, you're creating that reality for yourself.
What if the way you think about money is the exact thing keeping you from having more of it? Every thought you have about money is either expanding your capacity for wealth or capping it. And most of us are walking around with beliefs that are quietly sabotaging our success. I'm Jillian Minter, and welcome to Quantum Wealth, where we're blending manifestation and mindset with proven business strategy to help you break through income plateaus, dissolve subconscious blocks, and build a soul-aligned business that supports the lifestyle you actually want. If you're an entrepreneur who's tired of trading time for money and ready to quantum leap your income, you're in the right place. This is where woo meets business. Let's go.
One of the biggest lies that I hear entrepreneurs tell themselves is that they don't have time. Stop telling yourself that you don't have time, because every time that you say you don't have time, you're creating that reality for yourself. You're literally handing away your power, saying, it's not me, it's out of my control, I don't have the time, so there's nothing that I can do. And in fact, that's not true. What coaching, thought work, mind control teaches us is that we have the power over everything. And by saying, I don't have the time, you're giving away your power to some calendar, some power that be, and you're not taking control over your own life. And when you don't have control over your own life, well, then of course it's impossible to manifest. Of course it's impossible to create the desired results that you want. Something that I teach all the time is that money scarcity isn't real. Scarcity isn't real. Scarcity is saying that there's not enough of something. And just like money scarcity is not real, it's a story that we're telling ourselves. It's the exact same thing with time scarcity. And today I want to dismantle it, because I don't ever want to hear you tell yourself that you don't have enough time, because it's simply not true. You do absolutely have the time. And by saying that you don't have the time, you're holding yourself back and you're creating this scarcity that doesn't even need to exist in your life. Here's the thing about successful people. They have full lives. Of course they do. You're a multifaceted entrepreneur. You may be a parent. You have extracurricular activities. You have pets. You have family. You have plants. You have all the things. But saying that you're too busy or you don't have time is creating a reality that you don't want. So instead of saying, I don't have time, try saying, my life is very full. That essentially means the same thing. And also it sounds a lot more powerful. It's a lot more true. If you say, I'm so busy, and just sit there with your body for a second, how does that feel like in your body? Where do you feel it? Does it feel icky? Like for me, if I say that, I can feel it in my stomach and it's like, oh my gosh, I just don't have enough time. I'm too busy. But if I say my life is full and I sit with that, it's like, my life is really full. And that feels very good, because who doesn't want to have a full life? Like, the point of life is to live it. We want to have full lives, especially ambitious people who have a lot going on. We want to have a lot going on. We want different opportunities and different hobbies, different business ventures. We want to spend time with different people. We like having all of the things. So this is just the first reframe that I want to give you. Can you say, my life is full? And what does your body feel like when you say, my life is full versus I'm too busy, I don't have time? Our thoughts calibrate our frequency. Our thoughts turn into things. They are energy. They have weight. So when we are saying that we're too busy, we don't have time, whatever it may be, that is the frequency you're creating. When you are trying to manifest anything, money, time, the love of your life, a brand new car, whatever it could be, you want to get on the frequency of having the thing that you desire. So if you had all the time in the world, if you had all the money in the world, if you had the car you desire, whatever it is, what would your frequency be? What would those thoughts be? And my guess is, if you had all the time in the world and you felt really good about your calendar, about your schedule, about how full your life is, you would not be operating from the frequency of, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have the time, there's just never enough time. It would be like, my life is really full and it's freaking awesome. Like, I love it. I get to do so much in my life. So the first thing that we're doing to erase time scarcity from existence, from our lives, is changing our frequency. So here's the thing about the quantum field. Everything exists. Every possible timeline is already out there and exists. So when you're saying, I don't have time, you are choosing to live in the timeline where you don't have the time. If you want to create the time, you have to stop saying that. You have to take your power back and you have to say, okay, everything exists in the quantum field. Like time is energy, like everything. Energy is infinite. So which is the timeline that I want to choose? Well, I want to choose the timeline where I get my desires now, where I have everything that I need, where my life looks how I want it to look. And the way to choose that timeline is to speak about time as if there is an abundance of it, as if you could have any timeline that you desire. Is the universe going to match that immediately and hand you on a golden platter the timeline you want? Probably not. And also, you're going to get a lot closer to your dream desire if you do it that way, if you talk about time that way, if you decide that you're going to be operating from the frequency of all timelines are available and I'm choosing this one. There's a law called Parkinson's law, and basically what it says is that whatever you need to do, say there's a task or work, it will take up the amount of time that you give yourself. So for example, if you give your employee 3 hours to complete a task, it's going to take them 3 hours. If you give them 30 minutes, it's going to take them 30 minutes. And of course, there's nuances with this, and it's not always true, but so much of the time it is. So first things first is, how are we using our time? Are we filling our time with things that we want to be filling our time with? Or are we spending time on things that we don't want to be spending our time with? Are we filling our calendars and our white chunks of time and our calendar blocks with things that are not necessarily the most useful uses of time? Because this is one of the biggest problems I see with entrepreneurs is they say I'm too busy. But it's not actually that they're too busy. It's that they're not prioritizing. So my question to you is, if you feel like you don't have enough time, are you prioritizing? And usually the answer is no. Not immediately. Like usually this is something we have to dig into. Like, of course, everyone's gonna be like, yes, Jillian, of course I'm prioritizing what's important to me. But if you really dig into it and look at it, it's actually not always true. We start to uncover that they're not prioritizing the way that they want to. So then, of course, the next question is, let's look at your priorities. Let's look at your calendar. Where are you spending your time? And is that where you want to be spending your time? So let's say, for example, you do not have the time, quote unquote, for something. The question I want you to ask yourself is, every time you feel inclined or you start to say, I don't have enough time for XYZ, I want you to instead reframe it and say, XYZ is not a priority to me, and then see how that feels. And if that feels okay, great. All right, then it's not a priority for you right now. But if that feels icky, if it feels untrue, if you don't like the way that that feels, then that is a sign that we want to change that we need to actually shift our priorities, that we need to change things up. Because typically our calendars are really more than anything just a reflection of our habits. We get into the habit of doing something or we don't. So if we haven't been in the habit of doing something, well, that's totally different than it not being a priority. But once we say, oh, wait, I'm saying this isn't a priority to me, but it actually is, then we can get in the habit. Then we can get into our calendar, we can change it, and we can make it a habit so that it does become a priority for us, so that we do make time for it. So I'm going to use one of the most classic examples that I hear all the time. Even though I'm not a mom, I'm going to use a mom example. And it's moms who want to work out. And they say, well, I just don't have the time to exercise. Okay, here is my question to you. If you say, exercising is not a priority to me, is that true? Because so often the excuse, the reason, whatever we're going to call it, that we don't have time to exercise is, well, I want to be with my kids. I want to be with my family. Okay, well, exercise is literally going to prolong your life. It is going to give you years more with your children than if you don't exercise. So are you telling me that it is not worth spending 25 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, right here, right now, so that you can get years down the road with your child? I would guess that if you asked your kids if they want 5 hours a week with you or if they want an extra 10 years, they would say they want the extra 10 years. So my question is, what do you really want? Because your calendar reflects what's important to you. Just like we spend money on the things that are important to us, we spend time on the things that are important to us. So if we're not spending time on something, it's because it doesn't matter to us. Something that I talk a lot about with my clients is the RAS part of the brain, and that's the reticular activating system part of the brain. And basically what it does is it tries to prove you right. So whatever you tell your brain is going to look for evidence that it is true. So for example, if you say, I have no time, your brain goes, okay, now this part of the brain's job is to prove Jillian right. So if she says she doesn't have time, we're going to find all the reasons that she doesn't have time. And we see 1,000 different particles of information that our brains cannot absorb. We just can't take it all in. But our brain is going to prioritize taking in the information that we tell it to. So if you're telling yourself, I don't have time, you're going to prove to yourself that that's right. Just like if you say, I don't have money, the clients aren't coming to me, money is hard, whatever it is, you're going to prove to yourself that that is true. That is what your brain is going to find evidence of. So with that in mind, we want to tell our brain things that we want to feed it. We want to choose our thoughts on purpose because our thoughts are literally fueling what we are creating in our life, in our reality, in our environment. So we want to say things so that we're manifesting intentionally. So every time you say, I don't have time, you're creating time scarcity. Your brain is looking to be like, okay, we were told we don't have time. Let's find all the evidence that we don't have time. When you look for something, you're going to find it, and then you're just going to get into this rabbit hole. You're going to get more and more and more of it. It's the law of attraction. Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. So use your thoughts. Tell yourself the story that you want to be telling yourself. So let's talk a little bit about what is actually going on in your business, because what I see so often when people say that they don't have time, when business owners say that they don't have time, what is actually happening is they are reactionary in their business, meaning they are just doing what they need to get through today, tomorrow, next week. They're not zooming out. They're not looking at the big picture. They're not looking at the full year. They're not looking at the goals of where they want to be, their future self. They're really just kind of in survival mode almost. So when we're saying we don't have time, when we're in time scarcity, the thing that I want you to ask yourself about your business is, am I reacting in my business or am I being proactive? And if you're saying I have to be reactive, I am being reactive, okay, what is one proactive thing you can do to change that right here, right now, this week, today? And do that thing. Spend the 5 minutes doing it. What is the next proactive thing you can do for your business? And my favorite thing about this is that I already know the answer to it. The most proactive thing you can do in your business is the thoughts that you're telling yourself. But then step 2 is the actual actions in your business. So for example, the most classic one I hear is, I don't have time to hire, I don't have time to train, I don't have time to create the systems. Okay, well, it may take you working nights and weekends for a couple days, maybe a week, month tops. And also, once you hire, you're going to get so much time back that time scarcity is not even going to exist for you. This is the way I want you to be thinking, because we're in that scarcity mode. We're just not thinking clearly. We're being too reactionary, and I need you to zoom out, because when you zoom out and look at the big picture, that's when you can get really clear about, oh, I want to create this intentionally. This is the life I want. These are the things that I want to exist in my business and in my life, and that's how we get them. And I'm saying this because I've lived it. I did this when I owned my brick and mortar business. I did this all the time. I lived like this. Even when I started my coaching business and I knew this, I still caught myself doing things like, oh, I just have to plan what I'm posting on social media today, instead of thinking big picture. Oh, I just need to get through this client work today, instead of being like, okay, and also, how am I going to feel when I have 10 clients? What do I need to do when I'm going to be on vacation? I need to be batching content. I need to be getting ahead of it to have the life and the business that I want. I really had to zoom out and step back. So I think this is something really common that we all know and we all fall into, and we just kind of have to check ourselves. Like, am I stepping away? Am I acting like a CEO? Am I doing the big tasks? Am I acting like my future self now? Because that's manifestation in action. And every time you tell yourself you don't have time to act like your future self now, you are delaying your future self. And that's not what you want. Of course, it's not what you want. You want to be that person right here, right now. So here's the flip. I want you to start telling yourself, I have time for everything that I need, because it's actually true. You have time for everything that you need in your life. If you're listening to this podcast, you have food, you have shelter, you probably have an iPhone or some kind of device where you can listen to things. You have everything you need. So start telling your brain that story. Start saying things that way so that your brain starts looking for more evidence that that is true. And then that's also going to calm down your nervous system. It's going to recalibrate your whole entire system, your whole entire being. And then you're going to be able to approach your business from a different angle. You're not going to be zoomed in. You're going to be able to zoom out and look at things that create bigger impact on the things that matter and get out of the weeds, get out of the day-to-day. Because here's what we know about burnout too. If we're putting out the fires, we're in survival mode, we're going to get burnt out. And when we're burnt out, we're just not functioning well. Our brains are not firing at the highest capacity they can be firing at. I'm sure you've experienced that where you're just really exhausted and you're just not sharp. Like things are just not coming to you the way that they normally do. That is avoidable if we can take care of ourselves, if we can zoom out, if we can spend time on creating the life, the schedule, the business that we want, that we desire. And here's what I know from firsthand experience. You can't hustle your way out of scarcity. You can't. You have to slow down. You have to take care of yourself. It's the anti-hustle that gets you out of scarcity. It's becoming abundant now, because what is scarcity? Scarcity means that there's not enough. Abundance means that there's a surplus. So in order to really shift into this surplus, of course there is enough, we have to change who we're being. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to be functioning with clarity. We have to be on top of our game. These things are really important, especially if you're trying to scale a business, especially if you're trying to quantum leap, especially if you are trying to make more money. So just try telling yourself, I have all the time for everything that I need, and notice how your brain starts to show you that. And most importantly, notice how your body starts to feel. Notice the clarity that comes. Notice how you just start operating from a different frequency, a frequency that's going to bring you more abundance, frankly. So let's talk a little bit more about abundance, about a surplus. Being abundant with time, it's not having it all, it's having enough. Having enough to feel good, enough to get through your day, enough time for what matters, enough time to think, enough clarity, enough to be here now, and just enough to be human. It can literally be that simple. Imagine telling yourself, I have enough, instead of I'm too busy. Again, you could feel that in your body. Notice how different that feels for you. And this is a frequency that you practice, not a schedule that you find. And you are going to notice that the more you practice this, this becomes your reality. This is going to totally recalibrate and reshift your frequency. One way to give yourself more time too, going back to Parkinson's law, this law that how much ever time we have is how much time it's going to take, is to just start giving yourself a little bit less time for tasks and see what happens. It's just a science experiment. If it doesn't work, you don't have to do it. You can go right back to where you were. But if you're spending 45 minutes on something, just give yourself 35. Just give yourself 30. Run it as an experiment and see what happens. Because I bet you, and you can DM me and confirm with me or tell me I'm totally wrong and full of it, that you're going to notice that you're able to do it in less time. And then maybe you can shift that a little bit more. There are so many tools in this day and age that make our lives more efficient. How can you be more efficient with your time? And how can you practice Parkinson's law to your advantage? Another really great tool that money can buy you is buying back your time. Buying time is genuinely one of my favorite ways to spend money. So for example, if you are spending every Saturday cleaning your house, can you hire a house cleaner so that you have that time on Saturday for the white space? Because I'm not saying that you should be so busy and check all these things off the list that you can't live your life. It's actually the opposite. I want you to have more white space on your calendar, not less. And one of the ways to get that is to hire more, to delegate more. And it doesn't just have to be in your business. It could be deciding you're not going to do the laundry, deciding to get groceries delivered, whatever it is. What is a way that you can buy yourself just a little bit of time? For example, the groceries for me, I freaking love the grocery store. I could spend hours in the grocery store. And also, that's why I don't go to the grocery store. That's why I pick up my groceries. I pick them up because it's free instead of having them delivered, which to me, not really worth the money. I can drive the 6 minutes to the store. They put them in my car. I drive away. Super easy. And it saves me all this time from going to the store. Here's also the fun part. Now, when I go to the grocery store and I get to spend a little bit more time and I'm like going through, I love the charcuterie section and all the fancy little jams they have, or I'm going to the bakery and seeing what fresh stuff they have, or, produce, picking out my own produce, like getting to get the best of what I want, the ripest of what I want, the greenest, the biggest, whatever it is. Those things are more joyous than they used to be. So I don't feel like I'm losing anything. I'm actually gaining time. And it's then when I get to do this simple little chore, it's like it's a joy. It's giving me time and it's making me happier. And maybe that doesn't work for you. So I want you to find your version of that. How can you buy back your time? And I think this is one of the most common things rich people do is they buy back their time because everyone wants more time. And it's the one thing we always say is limited, but it's truly not. It, like everything else, is energy. Yes, there are 24 hours in a day, but how are you using them and how can we shift that? In your business, how can you prioritize the most important things first? This is such a simple concept. And also, I personally, and a lot of my clients, am guilty of this. We so often in our business want to do the things that we can check off the list. The least important things, the things that are going to be fast, easy, because wow, doesn't it feel good to check something off the list? And also, we need to be doing the most important thing first because the other stuff, it doesn't matter if it gets done. We can skip that stuff. Business will go on. But the important stuff that moves the needle, if we're doing that first, then there's always going to be time for it. And this is just a way to kind of trick ourselves into prioritizing. So if you don't already have a CEO date with yourself, a CEO day, a day where you really look at how you're prioritizing, I would invite you to do that because that is going to make a big difference for you. And it's going to give you the space to really look at the time that you do have and how you're using it and make you realize how you want to shift it. Or maybe you'll realize, like, I really like this use of time. For example, I had someone that I was in a mastermind once with, and we were talking about time, and she loved doing everything in her business, absolutely everything. She refused to give everything up. So instead, she hired the house cleaner. She gave away the laundry. She got a meal prep service. That to her was a better use of money and an investment so that she could keep doing the stuff in her business. And that's absolutely a great way to look at it. But unless you spend the time getting clear and looking at your tasks and your priorities and what you're doing, you're not going to know if the most important tasks are getting done or getting pushed away and how you want to restructure your calendar. So here's a little exercise I want you to do right here, right now. I want you to think of something that you say you don't have time for. It can be going to the gym. It can be posting on social media. It can be creating a new offer. It could be whatever it is. And unless you're driving, then don't do this. Come back to this. I want you to get really quiet. I want you to put your hand on your heart. I want you to take a deep breath in, let it go. And I want you to genuinely ask yourself, do I have time for this? Do I want to have time for this? Is this a priority for me? Or is this just something I'm feeling guilty about not doing for whatever reason? And if it's something you don't need to be doing, if it's truly not a priority to you, I want you to let it go. You're allowed to let things go in your business, the things that are not serving you. And if it isn't a priority to you, it is important, then what a great realization to know that so that you can make time for it, so that you can shift your calendar around. I hope that was helpful. Getting into your body is always an amazing way to check in with yourself, and it's something that we don't do often enough. So this week, I want you to do a little mini audit. Do an audit of your schedule, of your calendar, of your time, and of your thoughts. And I want you to just see what's working for you and what's not. And every time you say, I'm too busy, or I don't have time. I want you to switch that. I want you to say, my life is very full right now. That's not a priority to me. And I want you to just notice how that shifts your reality. It may not happen on day one, but I guarantee if you do this for a few days, you're going to start noticing the change. And a few weeks in, you're going to see a totally different result. I have a tapping into abundance tapping, and this is primarily about money, but money scarcity and time scarcity are literally the exact same things. They come from the same place. So I'm going to drop the link to that in the show notes, because if you're feeling scarcity at all, we want to shift into abundance, and you can use that money tapping to help shift you into abundance around time. You can switch out the words money for time. You can keep the words exactly as they are. It's meant to shift you physically in your body from scarcity to abundance. And that is going to help with money, with time, with all of the things. I would love to know how it works for you. Send me a DM on Instagram. Let me know. I hope that you have the most amazing full week and that you find a little bit more time for yourself. Until next Thursday, happy manifesting.
That's a wrap on today's episode. If you're still here, I know you're serious about quantum leaping your income, and that commitment is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Here's what I want you to do next. Pick one insight from today and take action on it. Because here's the thing, transformation happens in the implementation, not just the inspiration. If this episode shifted something for you, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. It helps other ambitious, heart-centered women find the show. And if you're ready to take this work deeper and finally break through that income plateau, I'd love to invite you to book a discovery call with me. Because here's the thing, podcasts give you the what, but coaching gives you the how. It's what takes you from, I know what I should be doing, to, holy shit, I actually did it. Head to the show notes or to jillianminter.com to grab your spot on my calendar. Until next week, keep choosing abundance over scarcity, alignment over hustle, and remember, you're meant for more. You just have to believe it's yours.